Welcome back to Izakaya Dreaming. Today's project, we're going to change all these fly screens out. They're looking really bad at the moment. They've been here for a long time, so I'm not surprised, but they've got holes in them. A lot of them are tearing out of the doors, and they've just been in the weather for 30, 40 years, exposed to the sunlight. They've broken down and they're falling apart. So let's get into it. So you see here, some of these screens have actually come out of the frames, and this has been a real problem because particularly during summer here, there's lots of insects and things like that, and these fly screens have been letting them in. So first thing we're going to do is start to take these rails off. So they've got these braces that are attached to the frame of the screen door, and they act as kind of like a grab handle, I suppose, when you're sliding them. So the fly screens are usually held in by these cords. They call them a spline. They're just basically a plastic tube, and there's a little channel that runs around the edge of the door. So what you do is you put the fly screen over the door and then you push the spline in. So you'll see that in a minute, but right now I'm just taking the old splines out. And once I've done that, as you can see, it's pretty easy to then just pull the screens out. So once I've got the screens out, I figured it'd be a good idea to give the frames a little bit of a clean. So I just gave them a quick hose down and then just grabbed a sponge with some soapy water and start to give it a bit of a clean. These frames are actually in pretty good condition. I don't know whether they were replaced at some point in the last, say, 10 years or something, but they do look pretty good. There's no rust or anything like that, so it was really just a matter of cleaning them. I had to get in there and clean the rails. There was lots of dirt and stuff in the rails, so the wheels weren't really sort of running properly. And that made the screen sticky and kind of hard to open and hard to close. which then of course makes them jump off the runners all the time, so you're constantly trying to put the screen doors back in, which is a bit of a pain. So hopefully this will help. So they're starting to look pretty good, so I'll give them a bit of a clean down now. Gotta love it when the hose comes off. It's a pretty old hose, so I'm gonna have to replace the fittings. I think this is about the 4th time this has happened to me. So for those of you that have seen the video where I cleaned up this side area here, where this gravel area that I'm working in, this used to be all muddy and mossy and it was pretty horrible. So I got in there and I cleaned it all up, put some gravel down. I'm not too sure what I'm going to do with it in the future. I'm either going to build a workshop there or maybe build an outdoor dining area. I'm not too sure. What I really like about this area is that because it sort of narrows down, particularly during summer when it's quite humid, the air or the wind really comes through here really nicely, so you get a nice breeze through here pretty much all day every day. So it's a really nice place to work. So I'm not too sure what to do, because I do like to work in this area because the breeze does keep you a little bit cooler, but at the same time it's the perfect area to have maybe a barbecue table or something like that. So yeah, I'll be interested to see what you guys think I should do with this area. Let me know in the comments. Alright, so now that the doors are all cleaned up, I'm going to start putting the fly screens on. So this first one that I did, there was a couple of mistakes that I made. The first mistake that I made is you'll see that I haven't actually put the brace back in, or the handle, the slide handle, the grab handle. And that turned out to be a bit of a mistake, which I'll explain and show you a little bit later on. The second thing that I did wrong here was when I bought the Flyscreen. This is the widest door in the house, this one that I'm doing right now. And it's about 95 centimeters wide. And the Flyscreen that I bought was 97 or 99 centimeters wide. I can't quite remember. But you can see that it's only just wide enough, and I thought that would be okay. But what I didn't take into account is that when you put the spline in to the little channel that runs around the door to hold the fly screen in, it actually pulls the fly screen, so you can see the bottom of the screen there. You can actually see the fly screen sliding over, and there's hardly any of it left. So I've got really no leeway. So for this one, I had to be really, really careful, because I didn't have any room for error at all. So I ended up having to kind of hold on to the fly screen and then slowly push the spline in. which caused a couple of issues. The first thing is that it made the screen a little bit tighter than I would have wanted it to be. And later on in the video, I'll show you why that was a problem. But for now, I've got the Flyscreen in, and then I'm just grabbing a box cutter and just cutting off the excess. So I was happy enough with that for a first attempt. So by now I've done a couple of the front doors. I'm getting a little bit better at it, but one of the things that I have started to do, I still at this point didn't realize that first door had been a problem, not putting the brace in. Luckily enough, all the doors that I did after that, I started putting the braces in. And also with this one, you'll see that the Flyscreen has a lot more space around the door, so there's a lot more room for error. So I didn't have to worry too much. I could just put the spline in and then just push it straight down. I did want to try and keep it straight though, so I did end up guiding the screen just a little bit, just gently holding the screen with my hand as I pushed the spline in, just so that it kind of stayed sort of straight, but it's not, you don't have to worry too much about it. But you'll see I'm using my other hand there just to kind of keep the screen straight, stop it from sliding too far in. And the other thing you find is as you push the spline in, it sort of ripples along the screen there, and it can cause creases and stuff like that, so you just got to be a bit careful. And that did happen to me on a couple of these doors actually. Where you got to be really careful is in the corners. You really got to push that spline into the corners, because particularly once you trim the screen off, if the spline comes out of the corners, it's really hard to get it back in. So those corners, really important. If you're doing this, make sure that you get those corners in really, really tight. Luckily enough, the roller that you get for these, there's a special roller that you buy, and it's got like a notched end, like a bladed end, sorry, not a notched end, a bladed end. And you can use that to really push the spline into the corners. Alright, so that one's done. So once again, I'm just cutting all the excess off. Also a lot easier to cut the excess off when you've got some to grab. With that first door, I had nothing to grab onto, so it was really hard to get it out. But as you can see with this, because I've got lots of excess screen to grab onto, it makes it a lot easier to get out. So with this one done, what I then decided to do was get back to that first door and put that slider grab handle in, the brace. And so I've just hammered that in. So I'm just screwing that handle back in. You actually push the screws through the Flyscreen, and that just holds it all together. So you can see me here, I'm looking pretty happy. But you can see on the edge there, I didn't notice it when I was filming this, but you can see those ripples. Well, what had happened is, you see how I'm hammering this handle back in. Well, when I'd put the Flyscreen in, it actually pulled in the sides of the frame. And so when I hammered the handle back in, it pushed them back out. And what that did was cause these ripples, because it then started to tear out some of the Flyscreen that I'd put in. So there's a bit of a tip for you. If you're ever replacing the Flyscreen on a door, if there's any braces or anything, make sure that they're in, because when you put the Flyscreen on and when you push down the spline, it actually makes it quite tight, and it can pinch the sides of the frame in. And then when you try to put the frame back in, when you try and put the brace back in, it actually tears the screen out of the channel, and you end up with those ripples. So at this point I decided to get onto the smaller screens around the house. So I wanted to get the bathroom screens done, the laundry and the toilet screens done. They're a lot smaller, so I figured I'd just get through all of those. And it also gives me a chance to get a little bit more practice before I hit the big doors out the back. So you can see it is a bit of a fiddly process. It's quite enjoyable to do, particularly in the environment here, because I'm outdoors and you can hear the birds and everything like that. It's quite nice doing this sort of work in this neighbourhood. So another little tip here, you'll see as I push the spline, you'll see that ripple going down the fly screen. So that's really handy because what that does is that tightens the fly screen all the way along. So if you do see a little bit of rippling before you've put all the spline in, don't worry too much about it, just keep going because it's probably going to tighten out as you go. I did make the mistake of trying to tighten the screen with my hand a few times, and that led to another problem, which is over tightening the screen, because you don't want it too tight. You don't want it too loose, but you don't want it too tight. So all in all, I think I had about 8 or 9 of these smaller ones to do, so I did actually start to get pretty good at it. As you can see, by the end I was getting it quite nice and tight. There's no major ripples in that. So it turned out pretty good, so I figured I'd done enough now that I could attack the 4 big doors at the back. So it was just a matter of following the same process to get these ones done. So just start off with getting all the grab bars off, all the braces. And more spline as well. Then I could start taking the screens off again, and I actually ended up with a lot of old fly screen laying around. In these country areas, you don't really have a landfill or a tip like we have in Australia, for instance. So I ended up with all this old fly screen laying around for weeks trying to figure out what to do with it. I ended up taking it down to one of the recycling centres. But if you do move into one of these areas, that is one thing you need to take into account. It's not really as straightforward. The rubbish collection and disposal in Japan is actually, it can be quite complex. So, even the rubbish, even the daily rubbish, household rubbish that is quite complex because everything is, everything is a different, I think there's about 12 different types of rubbish that you've got to sort. So you can't just kind of put it all together. You've got to take it to specific recycling centres, and it can be quite a challenge getting your rubbish out, but that's alright. It's a lovely place to live, so it's all worth it. Alright, so that's all done. It's now time to get these 4 screens done. So you've seen the process before, so we'll just quickly skip through this so we can get to putting the doors back in. Alright, so with that all done, it was then time to replace the screens, getting them back into the door frames. I did end up having to do a little bit of work on the runners because they were really stiff and they were gritty. So I ended up just going down to the local hardware store and buying the equivalent of WD-40, just a lubricant spray, and that seemed to help a lot. So we are done. Let's see how it turned out. So with that all done, it was getting close to sunset, so the only thing left to do was sit down, have a drink and enjoy the sunset, and the sunsets around here are absolutely spectacular. So that's it for me, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I always enjoy making them. Please subscribe to the channel if you like my content. If you want to be notified of more content in the future, click the notification bell, and if you could give this video a thumbs up, that would be awesome. Cheers.